the commitment that we want to make is that anybody who chooses to come to the office on a match day is also receiving excellent service. And that's a part of why we're throwing as much service at this as we are.
Hello, I'm Giles Gherson, and this is Toronto Talks, the voice of Toronto's business community. What are we talking about? Each episode is a conversation with top business leaders about how they're shaping growth, driving competitiveness, and building up our economy. It's about what they believe it will take to make sure the Toronto region remains one of the world's great global cities. Here's today's conversation. We have literally two of Toronto's biggest names in transit, Mandeep Lali and Michael Lindsay. Michael is president, CEO of Metrolinx, leading the delivery and operations of this historic regional transit expansion that's taking place right now. And Mandeep is CEO of the TTC, which he joined last year after 10 years in the London and New York transit systems. Please welcome Michael and Mandeep. Mobility is going to be so important to making these games the success we know they can be. And I know a huge amount of work has already gone into preparation for this on both your parts. And we'll just talk a little bit about that, just kind of give people a flavor of how you've been preparing and how essentially the sort of the transit and commuter rail will roll out during this period of intense activity. So Michael, regional transit will obviously have a significant share of the burden, bringing people in from around the region. And you've got Exhibition Go right next to the Toronto Stadium. Maybe tell us a bit how Metrolinx is preparing Go and regional transit services to handle surges and what the most important changes or upgrades being prioritized ahead of the games.
Can do. And first, let me say good morning. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here on behalf of the agency. And let me give you a few stats that I find arresting. So we move on your typical weekday about 300,000 people in this region on Go Transit, both rail and bus. By the way, that puts us right next to the MTA and the Long Island Railroad as one of the largest and most used networks anywhere in the world. I think we are the only commuter rail network that has not only recovered, but exceeded its pre-pandemic ridership. That's on a normal weekday. So now think about the incremental volume that we see when we have events. Your typical TFC match contributes about 7,000 people to our network. Your typical Jays match, about 10,000 people. Taylor Swift, 17,000 people. Game 7 of the World Series, 20,000 people. Anybody care to guess what our ridership projection is for a match day for the World Cup? 44,000 people. Twice Game 7, right? More than twice Taylor Swift. So the plan, to answer your question, sir, is a huge increase in service for the entirety of the control period, whether there's a match day or not, from June 10 to July 5. 3,000 weekly trips. 30% more than we ran through the course of the winter. Focus is on Lakeshore West, obviously, FanFest and Toronto Stadium. For the entirety of that control period, whether there is a match or not, trains will run on Lakeshore West every 15 minutes. On match days, the service on Lakeshore West goes up even more. 2 hours before the match, 2 hours after the match, it'll be 6 trains an hour. Other lines will also see service increases, particularly northern corridors, Barrie, Richmond Hill, Stouffville will adjust service times to make sure that you arrive for the start of the match. If you're in Niagara Falls or anywhere on the Niagara Peninsula, you're going to see a 15 to 20% increase in bus trips to get you to matches, as well as sort of changes to the departure time in Niagara Falls to get you here for matches. The UpX will run late, additional trips till 2 a.m. through the entirety of the control period. It is a massive expansion of our service. And for what it's worth, even that would be insufficient without the great work that partners at the TTC are doing to think about how we coordinate this kind of service. Now, there's going to be a little bit of dynamism about this, and I just want to flag it for everybody. There are a couple of match days where you have Jays games, FIFA World Cup, and commuters trying to get home all in the same window, right? So just have patience with us. The service is going to be huge, but we're going to be learning each and every match day about how to run trains to the west. And as a final thought, if you permit me, sir, remember that Exhibition Station is at the heart of that massive capital build that I was talking about, right? Tunnel boring machines chewing their way for the Ontario line, heading east from that site. That will continue during the World Cup, because we know how important that project is, right? But that's why physically moving people through that station is also something we're going to start practicing this weekend. So that's the thumbnail of what we're doing to the regional.
Thank you. That's a huge amount, and that's impressive. And Mandeep, you're the other part of this, obviously. And you know, you haven't been here very long, and so you arrive here, and all of a sudden, FIFA. You're a soccer fan. You're a football fan from the UK. So you're probably pretty excited about it. But huge lift also for TTC. So tell us a little bit about Transit First from a TTC perspective during the matches and during the whole control period.
Thank you, Giles. So this just building on what Michael said and then following on from the words from Peter in terms of this is a whole city perspective, it's not just TTC's, Metrolinx, it's the police, emergency services in terms of what we're doing collectively. In terms of grounding where we're starting from, on an average weekday, we do about 2.5 million trips. So that's our baseline. So then we look at you can see the map behind me in terms of, right, how are we going to manage these numbers? So very simply and systematically, we broke them down in terms of, we know near the football stadium, I use the word football and not soccer, thank you, Giles, and FanFest, which is circa 1.5 kilometers to the north of the fleet station, is going to be a real center hub of terms of activity. We've actually built in collaboration with the city, the fleet hub as an interim station to manage the flow of people. So we've got a baseline of 2.5 million trips. We have a number of 1.5 million additional trips that will occur between the 10th of June to the 19th of June, of which 500,000 are orientated around FanFest, around FIFA, and then also not negating the Jays matches, the concerts, the Pride, all those additional events which are on top of. In terms of systematically working it through, we've guaranteed to maintain service as we are today for the 2.5 million trips. On top of that, you can see how we've broke the system down in respect to north, south, east, and west, all orientated around the stadium and FanFest. From the west, you have the streetcars in terms of the 504 King and Dundas as well, going through to Distillery Loop, and then also Fleet Street as well. So those in itself have been upped to 4 to 5 minute ratios. Now, if you go back to when we looked at this early on in the year, we upped our service to a maximum 6 minutes or better. Those are now going to occur 4 to 5 minutes. So that will cut horizontally through the network. Vertically, we've got Dufferin, we've got Rapid TO and Dufferin, so that will make a huge difference. On top of the normal 92, we've got the 929, which is the express bus, which will get you to the location faster in terms of Dufferin Gate Loop. On top of that, now we've also from Bathurst got the 511, which will take you again to the center of where the action is with Rapid TO. On top of that, then we've got the 510 from Spadina. So you've got all those additional functionalities in terms of transit. And then from Union, you have additional service in terms of the harbour front. You then, on top of that, how we have an overflow from St Andrew should we require it to manage spectators. And all of these working in unison, collectively in tandem with the numbers that we've got from FIFA, from Arcadia, from the Pan Am Games, from the city, from Metrolinx, from the police, to ensure the customer experience is the heart of what we do. Just to give a bit of proportional capacity, in terms of the normal weekday, we've estimated between 3 to 5% additional capacity that we would require. What we're actually providing is 18% more capacity on the subways, 11% more capacity on the buses, and 10% capacity on the streetcars for weekdays. When we move on to the weekends and when the actual matches are, bearing in mind the police close the roads 5 hours prior to, bearing in mind the stadium opens 3 hours prior to, bearing in mind we're assessing the ingress and egress of the fans being circa 2 hours prior, 2 hours post, as well as a normal 2-hour match, where we've got service that will just exceed what is actually there. So for actual matches, we'll have nearly 40% additional capacity on subways, 30% additional on buses, and 11% on streetcars. You may say, well, why this additional capacity? So when we look at this event, it's once in a lifetime event. It's not a question of just moving people from left to right, up and down, north, east, south, and west. It's the experience. Are they going to come back here again? Are they going to visit this city and spend their money? Are they going to contribute to the economy? Will their kids want to come here based upon their experience? So it's the customer experience. On top of that, we've taken on the comments and feedback from everyone in respect to cleanliness, where we're upping that in terms of each of the terminals. We've taken on comments on security, taken that, and the reliability perspective. We've actually broken the network down into zones in terms of criticality of who is where to fix what part of our assets, and also what the top 3 failures are with the parts to that. And we've stress tested that to prove that we can, within zone 1, get there in 5 minutes, fix it, and move on. So all of these contributing factors, coupled with working with our partners on a weekly basis, will ensure that we collectively contribute to make sure this experience really is, as Peter touched upon, a world-class experience for Toronto.
Well, again, I mean, I think I'm sort of gobsmacked at just the sheer amount of increase in service that you're both going to be providing. One of the things I'm sort of curious about is just how you do that in terms of the rolling stock, for example. When you're adding that much through, whether it's on the subways, whether it's the GO system, did you have to bring new cars into service, or do you have cars that were parked in garage or rolling stock that was sort of parked in that you have to bring back into service now?
Yeah, no,
that's a huge increase in just capacity.
Yeah, it's drawing down the spare board, right, of the locomotives and the coaches that are available to us. But for what it's worth, we weren't satisfied merely with that. What we've done is a blitz on all of our infrastructure, right? Not only rolling stock, but also signals and systems and track, to try to make sure that the things that happen on a railroad happen less during this control period. And we've worked with our partners at CN and CPKC, full credit to them, shout out to do the same, because so much of our rolling stock still moves on freight rail lines. But to a point that Peter made, the real surge in assets is the surge in human assets.
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
That we're going to deploy, right? Hundreds of people. Peter, they're proud in the way that you are, right? To be on the front lines at every station from Mimico to Allendale, helping people who have come to this region to have fun, not only get where they need to go, but also to solve problems for them. And they love, I can tell you, they love that they can see, in many cases, the communities that they came from culturally coming here. And I can tell you, to the tips of their toes, they are really excited to show the best of Canada. That's the biggest surge in asset and complement that we've had.
So your redeployment of personnel is obviously quite considerable.
Yeah, and frankly, people who typically wouldn't be station attendants or wearing a high-vis vest and helping with security and the movement of people, volunteering. Folks from accounting and marketing and everywhere, right, that are really excited to put on, a high-vis vest and to help out at their local station. It was so easy to open up that call for volunteers and to just watch the roles fill up. There's an incredible amount of excitement.
And you're both, talking obviously about this very considerable increase in capacity in the service. how about how it comes together, the integration essentially of the Go system and the TTC, because obviously coordination, as you're getting people seamlessly from A to B down to the FanFest or the football stadium, and then back wherever they're coming from. That's got to be quite an important factor here. What's the coordination look like?
So again, this isn't something that just happened today, last week. We've been working closely. Well, FIFA do have an advantage. They've had 4 years of planning.
Right.
Michael's been, I think, less than a year.
500 days.
500 days.
How many hours though?
Yeah, it's just 10 months for myself. So in respect to the detailed plan that we've been working through, the teams have been liaising in terms of the numbers that we've shared with each other. They've looked at the services coming into Expedition, leaving Union, what the harbourfront passenger number looks like. They've also built it, as I said earlier, the Fleet Hub station as a new station for this event. And I'll just also highlight that I talked about the Fleet Hub, and I talked about the 1.5 additional visitors that's coming to the country. But what I actually overlooked was we also are upping our night network. So when our extended service ends in 6 instances post 2:30, we've got a plethora of streetcar services that go beyond. So if you want to, when Canada wins, and you want to keep celebrating through the night.
So 24 hours, basically.
So we're a world-class city, so we're providing world-class service. So if you want to get from Harbourfront to Bathurst, or you want to go to someone else's house party to celebrate, we're providing you the facility to do that. Again, that's come from coordination planning to ensure the customer experience is at the heart.
And if I could build on that.
Yeah.
Peter, you talk about what people know about Canada. I have a pet peeve, and that is the meme that the algorithm feeds me all the time of Toronto's transit system being 2 lines compared to Dubai, Shanghai,
Berlin, everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Take a look at the maps that our organizations are putting into new stations like Mount Dennis right now that overlay the GO network and the expanding TTC network. By the way, nothing conceptual about any of the lines that you see. They're all either in service or under construction. That's the story to tell about Toronto Transit. And it's as simple as saying that if we run into problems with the Union Pearson Express south of Mount Dennis, because, I don't know, there's a freight infra issue or our work crew at St. Clair Old Weston requires it, for the first time in a long time, people have optionality in this region. They get off at Mount Dennis, they get on the Eglinton Crosstown, they get down to Union. Happens every day, right? So the network coming into being, and full credit to Mandeep and his team at the TTC, who've been excellent partners in doing this, has now provided pathways that create redundancy and resilience for an event like this. We have the ability to direct people different ways to different places.
Just, Mandeep talked about, and you both have the world-class service and, the image of Toronto, and Mandeep talking about, as I said in my opening remarks, we hope people come back. This is a huge opportunity to bring people to Toronto who haven't been here before, and we want them to return. And so, as Mandeep said, first-class service, great customer experience. I talked about in my opening remarks some of the things that I've noticed. I mean, certainly from Metrolinx, I think you're responsible for that. Sort of the connector, so that the covered walkway on the west side of Bay, running from Union Station down to Scotia Arena, which has really suddenly undergone this sort of metamorphosis in terms of, I think, cleanliness, brightness. It's a real change. So congrats to you on that. And then I was saying to Mandy, some of the stations I've noticed, because I take the TTC every day, really, you suddenly notice this surge in cleanliness, and it just feels differently. So congratulations on that. What about are there more you can tell us about look, feel, just customer experience at the stations, on the trains themselves, on the streetcars, what you're trying to do to kind of give people that great customer feeling?
How do you, sir? Please, fair play.
So in terms of the customer experience, so we've got reliable, stable service that will give them the customer experience from both perspective. Michael touched upon ambassadors. We've thus far have about 615 still counting for customer experience and ambassadors. On top of that, we're also deploying iPads with it for our ambassadors and our station folks with multilinguistic skills on there, because we appreciate that we'll be having linguistic challenges, so that would help with the customer experience. And coupled with all of that, we've also now got wayfinding, which was coming through very strongly in terms of we need to improve on, which we've just started to trial this week actually at Bathurst. So making it very simple. And then on top of that, in terms of one of the most important things is communications. How are we communicating to the customers that have got the app? And we've got the GTFS feeds now that allow us via specific FIFA routing per matches via systems to get them there and back the most effective and best way possible. Not overlooking that, as I said, I'll go back to just to ground the discussion, the 2.5 million core customers we have removed during the day. So there'll be a primary route to the stadiums, and then we have a secondary route because we'll have the flexibility of, within the system to allow everyone to get to work and come home as well. So all of those little small incremental elements will contribute towards the customer experience and enhancing the city and the World Cup at the same time.
And just on wayfinding in particular, for example, one of the things that the board we've been sort of pushing is integrated wayfinding for the entire transit system in the region. So that would be all the local, the municipal services plus Go. Are you going to have integrated wayfinding?
Yes.
Okay.
I often worry that wayfinding is more exciting to transit CEOs than anybody else in the room, but the answer is yes. Yeah. Go to Mount Dennis Station and observe a digital display that for the first time shows you the schedule not only of TTC vehicles, but also of Go vehicles. Expect more of that. But if I could go back to excitement and enthusiasm, you should have every expectation of train wraps and activations on trains and enthusiasm at various station locations that go around this incredible event. I can't miss the opportunity to say that one of the things that we are also really fixated on is ensuring the safety of our neighbors and patrons. So yes, at Union Station, consistent with what you've been seeing over the past couple of weeks, there will be more of a security presence at that station. And by the way, I think that that's something that the World Cup prompts to a certain extent, but is as amongst the things that probably then never goes away in respect of standard operating procedures. And again, just a shout out to partners who aren't on the stage with us, but deserve to be. To the Chief and Toronto Police Services, just a fantastic partnership to think about Union as a node and exhibition as a node and how we're going to make sure that people are safe. That more than anything, I think the city and its amenities speak for themselves. You just put people in this town and they love it. Doesn't matter if they're an athlete or a tourist or a longtime resident, but making sure that people know that this is a safe location to come to is something that's really on our mind.
Terrific. Now, we've run out of time, but I have one last question that I think employers in the room will be interested in, which is, what's your advice to employers in the downtown core? Is your best advice to have folks work from home on match days, for example?
Listen attentively to what the Toronto Regional Board of Trade tells you to do.
Well, but we're going to take our advice from you in this instance. So
if I may, we're giving you the opportunity, and everyone here today, the flexibility to make that decision. Okay. So the option is there. It's not for me, and Michael can speak. It's not for me to say yes or no. We've demonstrated the capacity, we've demonstrated the resilience, we've demonstrated how we went about it and the rigor in terms of reliability, customer experience. I think then the decision is the options are there for you to decide.
I have to praise your political acuity, so the really terrific answer.
I suppose I would say, to amplify that point, the commitment that we want to make is that anybody who chooses to come to the office on a match day is also receiving excellent service. And that's a part of why we're throwing as much service at this as we are, right? But the message that I would say is we will try to, through the board, which has been fantastic, provide more information about the dynamic elements of this. Like, that's the one thing that I hope everybody takes out of this room. We will change a little bit what our plans are after match day 1 happens. For sure we will. 100% we will. And by the way, when Canada wins and we figure out that people stay downtown for 4 more hours celebrating, that'll change things too. So we've done as much planning as we can. No battle plan, as they say, survives first.
So then a
contact.
big communications effort after that, right? As the dynamic takes hold. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Mandeep and Michael, thank you. Terrific conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks for listening to Toronto Talks, conversations with the leaders shaping the region's economy. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts.